economic development manager of Pleasant Hill, California, is not only an economic development manager, but is also a certified entrepreneurship instructor trainer. Again, these are not exhaustive bios, so the idea is that you all get a chance to learn more about all of them as they are speaking today. And then finally, last but not least, Christian Espinosa Torres is not only the Assistant Director of the Human Rights and Relations Department in Omaha, Nebraska, but he also chairs the Nebraska Early Childhood Collaborative Board. Welcome to our speakers. Thank you so much. So we can just go down the line with our first question. We're doing like a two-part, tell us about your city rapid fire. So the first one is one practitioner to another, what makes your city stand out, given that you have just a few seconds to share. And second, a potential funder is visiting your city next week. In 1 minute, what innovative needs or practices would you pitch to them? Innovative needs or projects would you pitch to them? And so we start with Commissioner Dunn.
Good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Commissioner Melissa P. Dunn from the city of Lauderdale, Florida. To give you some context, we're in Broward County. We're about 15 minutes away from Fort Lauderdale Beach. We are a city of 75,000 people, and one great opportunity for a funder is to invest in our Lauderdale Health and Prosperity Partnership, where we're working with faith organizations, nonprofits, business owners, and residents, including seniors and youth, to make the city safer, healthier, and more prosperous by addressing the social determinants of health.
Excellent. That was definitely less than 1 minute. That was perfectly stated. Thank you, Commissioner Dunn. Renata?
Good morning. My name is Renata Kowalczyk. What makes us unique is that Wilmington is located today in this location. We are exactly in the middle between New York City and Washington, D.C. 2.5 hours drive, an hour and a half train, and an Amtrak on that line runs as frequently as many of the New York City subway lines for those of us who are New Yorkers. The second one is what we refer to as a Delaware way. We are the second smallest state in the country, which means that we know everybody. I can text my congressional delegation, I can text the governor, they show up at our community events, and that allows us to build very quickly strong relationships and make things happen. The project that I would pitch is the project that we call The Bridge. It is in downtown Wilmington when we are in the process of rehabbing a large former location of Bank of America, and it's going to be bringing higher institutions. And via The Bridge, it is connected with K-12 building that has multiple charter schools that focus on children from our predominantly underserved communities. So it's a cradle to career project.
Excellent. Thank you. Monsieur?
So one thing that we say about Omaha, we are awesome. And we're in the middle of America. You know the County Crows song is about Omaha, something in the middle of America. And one thing that I will tell you is that being basically in the middle is we get connected to different cultures across the country, right? We're basically in the middle. We're 3 hours away from Kansas City, 6 hours away from Minneapolis, St. Paul, 2 hours and a half from Des Moines. So we are really good located. We are the biggest city in Iowa, South Dakota, North Dakota, Nebraska, and Kansas. So we are really kind of a hub. And we have Warren Buffett over there. It's very well known because we have good and strong financial industry there. And I think that's what will come if one of Warren Buffett's friends come and wants to invest in Omaha. You know, it is possible. And you know, like just visit a friend or in May, you know, when they have a conference over there. So one thing that I want to say, like we are working on $325 million riverfront development, and it's connected with a new streetcar what we are doing here is connecting different communities. Omaha used to be a little bit isolated. It was like a small town within a city. So we have a town or an area where it's named Dundee, another is Blackstone, another one is Benson, and Starkville. That there used to be small towns back in the 1800s, you know, 1900s. But now with the streetcar, we try to connect all these communities. And there is a lot of opportunity for the small businesses to be part of that. We are, with all the construction that is happening, with the connectivity that is, and all the retail and restaurants that's going to happen in that area. So, but not only that, we create a soft infrastructure. Right? Thank you to NLC and the CIA program, CIE program. That we create this website that is one base. So in that website, if you want to open a business or grow your business or open a location, you go there. It is like a very easy click. You click into different parts and you get the information that you need. If you're not very tech savvy or websites are not your thing, we hire somebody that you can call and will help you navigate everything that is happening at the city hall. So you can get, if you need to go to get a permit, if you need to get your liquor license, if you need to get, be part of the small business program, we have somebody there. So that's what the picture would be like, that keep investing in Omaha and growing this economy.
Hi, I'm Brett. So I work for the city of Pleasant Hill, which is in the center of Contra Costa County, which is probably the largest workforce supplier for Silicon Valley, where the average commute is about 2 hours. So people they're starting homes, they have a great economy there, but they also do not have a job. And so out of those 30,000 people, who live there, the vast majority of them are educated and they work, but they're driving to all the other parts of the Bay Area to work in high tech and whatnot. We're also nestled right next to our sister cities who have these amazing medical facilities that are state of the art, but nobody from that town can work next door. And so a lot of what we do here is work with these entrepreneurial sort of residents who start their own festivals, they start their own sort of night markets, they start their own coalitions and their commissions. They're very good at building things from the ground up. One of the things that we're looking to do is to take that same energy and take some of the thoughts that we've had in our general plan to build a culture where people can create jobs locally and do it in a way that is organic and natural and is not necessarily all dominated by retail chains. Was that under 1 minute?
Excellent. Yes, that was 1 minute. And this wasn't meant to be a tourism advertisement, but I think everybody did a good job of explaining their city, where they're at, how close it is, how easy it is to get to. So that's great. Excellent. Well, I know it's still early in the morning, but we're going to be talking about economic development trends next, and what you all think is the biggest economic development trend, either within your city specifically or more broadly, that you think is going to provide the greatest benefit to your city. And so, as you all are listening, I went to a small liberal arts college. I know other people do this too. If you agree, feel free to snap. It's a good way to stay engaged and let everybody know what you're thinking. So we will start this with Brett.
I'm a Gen Xer, so I came out of hip hop, so I have to start off by shouting out.
Let's acknowledge that.
I have to shout out the people who brought me here. Thank you for putting this together. Thank you for the rest of the NLC team for bringing me here. Shout out to my colleague, Gabby, wave at everybody real quick with your one hand. Just want to make sure that we understand. And thank you to the DJ for playing Jay-Z before I came up here. I only went to business school for this moment, and that's what I dreamed of. To those times.
Absolutely.
So I think one of the trends that we see is a move out of I can do it by myself and moving into regionalism. I think many cities that we saw over the last 3 years, everybody got their own ARPA funds. I'm doing it on my own, I got it, I'm cool. I'm the kids with these toys, you keep your toys over there. Now as those are sunsetting, people are looking around going, what's happening? And I think one of the things that we have tried to do in the work that myself and my colleague Gabby has tried to do is we recognized that we couldn't do it alone at all. We were openly trying to share and trying to create a sense of placemaking that is really countywide, and doing that in the idea of just binding people together by cost, right? So if you just think about buying an ad in your local sort of business times, no one city of our size can afford that, right? But if you think about putting 4 cities together and throwing the logos on there, that's a very small line item on a budget that can go through an economic development department to the city manager or mayor and get a write-off, a signature in a day. And that kind of thinking is what we are trying to do and making it easy for people to do so they don't have to have 17 conversations to get something done that can be done in 30 seconds.
Love that. And NLC is also a big fan of that. If anybody needs some help with that, let us know. How about you, Commissioner Dunn?
So I am so intrigued by my colleagues sitting here on this panel, and I look forward to learning a lot from you. And we've had a chance to talk a little bit last night. So my city, comparatively, is really small compared to some of my colleagues here on this panel. And our challenge is our economy is a little bit challenged, if we should say. Median income in my city is under $45,000 a year. And most of our small businesses are just that, small businesses, mom and pop stores. We are a large immigrant community. And so the opportunity is for us to nurture those small businesses, give them the opportunity for them to scale, for them to start. And I'm so grateful for our partnership with NLC because you guys have invested in helping me to bring that vision to life. So the next wave for us is to leverage public-private partnership. To give you some context, in my city, we have one hotel, and that one hotel does not allow us to get access to the tourism tax that the county has that we pay into because it just is not enough. And mind you, I'm on the county's tourism board, right? Additionally, we don't have any real big chain restaurants. We do have a mall, and we do have a performing arts center. So what are we doing? We are leveraging public-private partnership, and I'm really proud to say that we are in the process of developing our first hotel in the city of Lauderdale. We're in the process of developing our first hotel that will have additional parking, multi-use. It will also have apartments and townhouses for sale. Again, when you look at our ratio of rental property versus homeownership, we have significantly more renters than I would like, right? About 47% is rental property. So having this public-private partnership that comes with a hotel, comes with an amphitheater, comes with a ghost kitchen, which provides an opportunity for a lot of my small business owners who are currently having to get a shared workspace in our neighboring city in order for them to open their businesses in Lauderdale. So now we're able to attract that. So the trend here is to continue to support small businesses or mom and pop to help them to scale right from where they are, and that's perfectly okay because that's what's make us unique, right? And then secondly, for us to bring in partners like the one that we have for the Hill that's allowing us to leverage their dollars and our human capital and our diversity in order to create and attract destination visitors for the city of Lauderdale. Super exciting.
I'll let you put it on.
This puts a smile on my face because I'm going to continue on the theme of we are stronger together. That is my theme for the next however many years. And for us, that also translates into a trend of public-partner partnerships, but they also include not only the governmental agencies, but also nonprofits and philanthropy. Philanthropy in Wilmington stepped in, and we are smaller than you, 72,000. Although we are the largest city in the state of Delaware, that's how small the state we are. But the philanthropy, nonprofits, and the governmental agencies, including our Land Bank had gotten together and said, how might we revitalize a really old housing stock? Wilmington, being part of Mid-Atlantic, you can imagine that our houses go back all the way to 1700s. And so, collectively, we've been focusing on the east side, predominantly Black, predominantly underserved, disinvested for a really long time. $30 million has been going into it, rehabbing one block at a time. And then another side of the town also has been seeing revitalization. And when those houses are rehabbed, they put back in the market to home ownership. So in Hilltop, I'm happy to report that out of 60 houses that were abandoned, there are now 40 that have been putting back into home ownership, purchased by folks in the community that can actually afford them.
All right, that's amazing. Congratulations. I know. Well, keeping with the theme, I think that the big trend is like a coordinated growth is what happening in Omaha, Nebraska. The state legislature passed this bill that is creating Omaha Inland Port Authority. So we're going to get a bigger airport in Omaha. We're going to have international flights, and we're going to create a business district nearby. So the main trend of this was going to try to coordinate the northeast Omaha, was being for the longest history the underserved area of Omaha, but we call it. It's very interesting because in Omaha we call it North Omaha, and everybody knows it like where the Black population live. It's mentioned South Omaha, and it's where the Latino population live, right? And everything is east. So in Omaha you have North and South Omaha and West Omaha. That's it. So this Inland Port Authority and this business district is going to be bringing all this business on this environment in the northeast part of Omaha. So that's going to be a really good investment. And the total in Omaha, we have $9 billion in construction now, which is a lot considering the riverfront, considering the $100 million for affordable housing, $432 million for the streetcar. So when we're going back into one base, that's the way that we are coordinating the small businesses. So and especially for the census tract that we have. Just a reminder, Nebraska doesn't have affirmative action. So we can now designate projects for minority-owned business. So that's the reason we come up with a small business program. So the main thing of this is to coordinate all these ones, prepare those businesses so they can actually have access to this kind of infrastructure. We are, based on that, we're revitalizing all the North Omaha part of East Omaha. There is a lot of investment happening there. There is we have a new kind of neighborhood named Millworks that it used to be abandoned, and now there is growing, and we have a retail over there. It has like co-working spaces, coffee shops. It's near to the stadium where the baseball World Series plays, like 4 blocks away from there. So that would be a growth. One of the biggest challenges here is like in Omaha we're fighting with brain drain. So many people who are educated in Nebraska move out. So one of the things that we want to do is we're growing a lot of talent, we wanted to stay. So by making the city more walkable, making it more cohesive, making it feel like a belonging part, I think that's what we're trying to do with all this inclusiveness, right? Because when you look at the trends, usually the minority population are the ones who leave the city or the state. That's something that we want to do, and we have the money to do. Let's see how it goes. So far, stay there. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we have, is this how much time we have left? 20? I don't know how to Yes, okay, great. So we have 3 questions left. I do want to get through all of them. So the next one that we have, maybe we can just fly through it a little bit quicker. But if you all could share an example, and you've already sort of alluded to some, but if you could share an example of an initiative that you're working on that represents the future of your city and a lesson you've learned from it to take away for other cities. And maybe lean into the lesson more than extensively sharing the example, just so that we can use the time well. So we'll start with Renata.
Good. So I'm going to do a quick props for NLC because the initiative was created by my organization, Wilmington Alliance, and it was created as our first commitment back a long time ago, and it was a commitment to move entrepreneurs from informal to being formal, and we chose culinary. So we created Wilmington Kitchen Collective, and it's a network of commissary kitchens that operate out of local churches. Because Old City, a lot of churches don't use kitchens, I had no appetite whatsoever, someone who's built co-working spaces, to take on a large capital project and not be able to sustain it over time. So I pitched this idea to churches. We now have 4 churches, 38 culinary entrepreneurs operating out of them, and I have 100 businesses waiting on the list. So we are now actually looking at opening kitchen number 5 yet in another church, and the lesson learned from it is do not be afraid to start small. It is okay to find one kitchen that operates 4 businesses out of it, and then get the momentum going and building them.
Okay, so I need that blueprint.
We provide consulting services for free.
All right.
We'll talk. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Well, so we have a program called Lauderdale Shines. We're just graduating our 11th cohort, over 175 businesses enrolled, and we teach them everything from marketing to getting government contracts. And it is a on-demand content. So we create the class once, build out the platform on Kajabi using city staff and their knowledge, and then we just take folks through it. So my business owners have identified that their 2 biggest challenges, and I'm sure you're not going to be surprised by this, is access to capital and also marketing. So we have added a coaching component to the program to help them overcome this challenge, right? And in partnership with NLC, we got a grant to bring the Kiva up to Lauderdale. Well, guess what I'm finding? That a lot of people in my community, they don't want to do crowdfunding. It could be a cultural thing, but when I'm talking to my business owners, they don't want their family and their friends in their business. And in addition to that, with everything that's happening in the national spotlight, being an immigrant community, a lot of my folks definitely do not want the government in their business, or they don't want to go so public. So one of the lessons that I'm learning is that in order to take my entrepreneurs from, and we've taken some of them from startup to getting government contracts to where they have hired at least 7 people and scale their business to 7 figures. So what I'm learning is that mindset is key. We've got to spend time, and we do, helping people to overcome the mental challenges associated with scaling your business beyond 7 figures, beyond 6 figures. And so we invest a lot of time in coaching. I spend a lot of my personal time, and thank God we have a lot of alumni who are now coming back and volunteering and working with the small businesses to help them to get past that level. So 2 big learning lessons. Number 1, just because it looks good in other communities, don't mean that it's going to work in your community, right? Eva, we're trying to crack that code right now. So if any of you have it working in your city, I'd like to learn from you how it works. And then secondly, focusing on mindset and really allowing people who graduate from your program to reinvest their time and expertise. It works.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
We're doing the condensed version. I see your amazing notes.
I can simplify it. I promise.
Excellent, thank you.
So one of the things that is happening in Omaha, the legislature created a poverty elimination action plan. So municipalities, the size of Omaha, only can have to develop 5 years. So for this year, next year, we're gonna focus on access and affordable childcare. So we want to make sure that the city of Omaha has enough childcare for the citizens. But Omaha is the hub for the 8 counties surrounding it, and most people and they want to have a charter to work with. So we don't have enough charter, but that is affecting the residents of Omaha. So that's the first one. The second one that we're going to do is dual enrollment. What we want to achieve with that, but just really remember the difference. You might not know it. So childcare is an economic multiplier. And we have to be very sure that when we talk about childcare, we talk about economics. Because when people have a place that is affordable or free, where they can put their kids there, they can go safely go to work and advance in their career. So that's a good indicator, and I'm the example of that. I have to move over in the area. The other part that we are doing is dual enrollment. One of the things that we have realized is that people who are more affluent tend to do this dual enrollment so they can get an associate's degree while they're in high school. So they put it in so much advantage in that. So we want to do that for the other communities that don't know, they don't have access, or the school districts that have hyper-rich lines. The third thing is workforce development. And I want to give you some news. So the same way that we develop one district that small businesses to grow, I'm thinking of creating this hub where we are coordinating every single workforce development organization that have been here. So when they need to find it, we're going to work with the unions, we're going to work with anything, we're going to centralize its website. So anybody, an employee, an employer, or somebody seeking jobs, can go over there and look at the industry, connecting with American jobs, connecting with other industries that don't have to do with private contractors and unions. So by creating this easy to access hub that we're going to call One Works in the future, is going to be essential for people to find jobs. The job market in Omaha is okay. We have 3.2 unemployment, which is very low compared with the national part, but we don't have employees. As we're talking for the brain drain is an issue. So with that kind of website, we're going to try to keep people in town. We're trying to get everybody here. That's the initiative we have.
There will be definitely more time. And one thing I love about Omaha that you have leaned into is ONE1 is Omaha, Nebraska, the abbreviation. So maybe that's even just Omaha, but there's lots of collaborative work going on across the cities. How about you, Brett?
So again, everything seems to start and end with NLC. In my former life, I worked at a city called the City of Antioch, and we were putting together a collaborative of nonprofits to help people start businesses. So that way there was a guide model. And we ran into some of the people you see in the room, and they presented this idea of the hub and spoke model. And we were like, oh, we'll be stealing that. And so we used it and then won a bunch of awards for it. I think when we constantly tried to talk to our partners across the county, which was eventually this is gonna end, but we want to think about this as a whole approach, and you should steal this from us early. And it was like, that's great, I'm glad you're doing that. And then I think there was a tidal wave of emails that sort of came to Gabby and I about 3 months ago that were like, how do I get a piece of that? And this is one of those moments where we're like, we've actively been trying to share it with you. One of the things that really came out of that was we sent out a survey to try to get people to understand what were the needs and from a city standpoint of how they looked at data. And we were surprised to see how few cities surveyed the business community, how few cities do a sales or retail leakage study. The actual data standpoint, they weren't doing the groundwork on that. They hadn't done the homework at all. And it's not their fault, they just haven't done it. And so that was one of the biggest lessons that we were really teaching our colleagues and sharing this idea that you can nest data as the first starting point and then build a larger hub and spoke model.
Excellent. Yeah, starting small, it seems like has been powerful.
You know you're coming to California to help me build a hotel, right?
Let's do it, let's do it. Lots of meetings after this, excellent. So our next question, the current landscape regarding access to funding and being able to solve problems. I know, Brett, you already sort of preempted this a little bit. Just given time, let's lean in and talk about the power of cross-city regional collaborations and how you all either are already engaging in that or hope to lean into that, just given the current landscape of less funding for cities from places it traditionally came from. Christian, you want to go first?
It's like two sentences.
Excellent, you can read them off word for word then.
Can you hear me? So actually we are very fortunate in Omaha, Omaha is very fiscally stable right now, with property tax revenue. We have a corporation tax. In 2010, the previous mayor came with the restaurant tax that keep us out of debt at the city. Believe it or not, 3.2 tax, restaurant tax, makes a lot of difference. It's not popular, and it costs in the election, just so you know. But the finance of the city are great, they are good. We're lacking the collaboration with other areas, probably because we're the biggest in the region, but we could collaborate more with the county, and specifically with this point elimination action plan and see what we can do with China.
Yeah, Renata.
So the example that I want to use is in the workforce development space. That's another area of our work as an economic development nonprofit in the city. So for those of you who are in the workforce space, the name of the game has always been we owe dollars. We don't know where the money is coming, how it's going to come. And then I also mentioned that Wilmington, Delaware is very conveniently located not only between Washington, D.C. and New York City, but also we are in a very close proximity to Philly. And where our states think about separate WIOA dollars, separate workforce development boards, separate education, this is not how our employees and how our employers think about it. If it's only 35 minutes to drive to Philly and 20 minutes on Amtrak, when I used to be an executive at JP Morgan Chase, majority of my 20 plus young associates lived in Philly and commuted on a commuter train to work to Wilmington. So all of us nonprofits had decided from Philadelphia and from Wilmington, decided to come together and start building a regional coalition of learning from one another about what works in workforce development and share best practice in the dollars to actually meet our employers and our employees where they are, meaning live where you want to live and work where the jobs are.
So earlier I shared with you this model that we've created called the Lauderdale Health and Prosperity Partnership. That's a collaborative impact model where we build a table and invite everybody to come. When that program was co-founded by me and our former city manager in 2010, we built it with the intention of leveraging not only the resources and human capital of our partners, but also their funding, right? As a backbone organization, my former city manager and I were really successful in getting organizations to invest in the vision, invest in the dream. Unfortunately, with the election, things change, people's priorities shift. And so one of the challenges that I face is how do we insulate this work from political turmoil? And it's a battle that I lost, because can I be humble, open, and transparent right now? It's a battle that I lost, because I am now a vote of one, whereas before we all shared the same priority, right? And our city manager, former city manager, within, I would say, anyways, she's no longer there, our city attorney is no longer there, and so it's a clean sweep. So, what has happened as a consequence of that is that all of the money that we brought in, and it was over $5 million, those grants were written in the city's names. Well, now our colleagues voted to separate the program from the city. So now we're operating and in the process of starting our own 501c3. The good news is that residents are as committed as before, if not more so. Our partners are even more committed. Some of our investors are even more committed, so much so that they're actually serving as advisors as we build from scratch. And so again, the challenge is how do we protect something that is good from political turmoil? And Christian, you and I had a conversation last night, and you gave me an idea that I'm going to be exploring, right? And so, to that end, leveraging partnerships, making sure that we make policy in a way that when we're doing work that's designed to improve the quality of life of communities, to do it A, with community at its core, and B, to protect the work, so that when administrations shift, when policy priorities shift, that the people are not left suffering as a result. And so that's the journey that I'm currently living. But again, the people are with us, and they're rolling up their sleeves, and they're getting it done. And can I tell you one thing? The work has not stopped.
So I think I heard this yesterday on the stage, and I think I'm seeing it tonight. There's a bunch of us recovering bankers and VCs in this field, which is a relief. We got to talk. So I used to build ecosystems before I got to this work, and that's why I got to this work, because I loved building markets, and I got really upset when I saw people crush them, right, for speculation, because that's the jobs we're talking about. So one of the things that we are dealing with, obviously we all have these shrinking federal funding, but what's happening right now, I don't know why, sarcastically, all of a sudden there's a bunch of money appearing in California to build ecosystems. Tech ecosystems. I don't know, maybe somebody wants to have ribbon cuttings all of a sudden. Point being, in a new conversation, to contextualize that there's 9 counties in the Bay Area, 4 of them have jobs. One of those counties makes microchips, the other one is venture capital, another is law, another one makes some of the world's best wine. It's almost as good as New Zealand wine. Had to slip that in there. But point is that everybody else commutes. And so what we've been able to do is start, as we build an ecosystem and sort of, myself and Gabby sit on an organization called the East Bay Economic Development Alliance, which is made up of Alameda County, which is your Oakland, your Berkeley, things like that, and Hayward. But then also you have all these Contra Costa cities like myself. And so what we've been able to do is we're building out these ecosystems is having a new conversation that says, you're building this new industry in an area, you don't have all the infrastructure there, you're not going to be able to build it all there, but you can build it in other places. And so we're having these new types of conversations with these proposals around the intersection of infrastructure, around tech work, around housing. And so one of the interesting conversations we were able to have was, if we say, for instance, our neighbors over in Hayward, California, they build drones, the second largest drone manufacturer outside of China. The batteries, they can be made locally. And so all of us as cities kind of get together and say, well, who's got a piece of that, who's got a piece of that? How do we build our own supply chain and help that and align the workforce and all these employers and bring them to the table? So it's an interesting opportunity, but that wouldn't have come if there was still another dole of federal funding. So in the scarcity, which I don't really enjoy, then people are more willing to start thinking differently.
I think there's opportunity even in slack. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we have just one final question, and this one is short and also participatory. So we'll first ask, just go down the line, we'll start with you, Brett, but if you had to distill the success of your city's economic future into one single word, I know that's not our specialty here in a good way, but let's pretend for now, if you could distill it into one single word, what would that word be? And you can give an extremely brief explanation of why, if you would like.
Mycelium. I'm not looking, but I'm sure Gabby's up there laughing. You guys know what mycelium is?
Yes.
What's mycelium? You explain.
It's all the mushrooms that come out of it. And it grows underground, and it's a network that feeds off the onion. It's a So my system is basically mushrooms. And it's a network that feeds with each other, off of each other, and it's undestructible.
And my word is possibilities, because with a vision and the willingness of a community to work together, everything is possible.
Can I curse? So it's my initial early morning was innovation, but now is an acronym. GSD, getting shit done.
Let the record show I said probably not. But Renata does things anyway, as you can tell. In a good way. That's excellent.
Non-collaboration. I think it's probably Omaha is. Omaha works in a lot of silos on everything. So I think once we start collaborating with the work that you do, it's magnificent. We can actually make this.
So I'm seeing this will be a collaboration with these 4 cities. You all represent different regions of the US, so you've signed up for this and we'll walk away all set. Okay, great. So I think we're done. No, I'm just kidding. So given those words of inspiration from our panel, we now like for you all to participate. I'm going to put 60 seconds on the clock. I don't think we have Post-its, but that's okay because it can just be written down. What is your answer to this question? If you could distill your city's economic future into one single word, whether that be about people, systems, leadership, what would that word be? And you can think through why, but make sure to write down or in some place record what your one word is. It will come up later before the end of today's session. So I'd like to thank our panel. Please give them a huge round of applause.